We thank you for joining us here today at the Media Vale in Grand Island. This is our 5th stop of 14 cities that we're hitting over the first 2 days. We're on a 6-day tour of this great state. The first 2 days by plane. My wife and I and our 2 daughters, Corey and Alex, are 12 and 9, are here with us. And starting tomorrow night, our 2-year-old son, Breck, will get back on the RV with us. He's with Grandma today and tomorrow, but he'll hop on the RV with us and we're gonna make another tour of the whole state. So we're starting with 14 cities on the first 2 days and then headed back out. We're using this tour to announce officially the launch of our campaign for U.S. Senate. The reason we're running for U.S. Senate is because this country faces big problems and we need adult-sized solutions to the big problems that we face. We have been blessed to be given by our parents and grandparents an American inheritance of freedom and of opportunity, and we know that we have a moral duty to pass on to our kids and grandkids a world every bit as opportunity-filled and free and glorious as the America that we inherited from our grandparents. Right now we have a system in Washington that is obviously not working. We have a system where both Republicans and Democrats seem more interested in partisan gain and bickering and shouting at one another than about actually solving problems for our kids and grandkids. There is no better example of what's broken right now in Washington than the healthcare system, and in particular the Obamacare law. I am opposed to the Obamacare law for many, many reasons. This campaign has been called in recent months the National Anti-Obamacare Campaign, and I have been called the National Anti-Obamacare Candidate. In a certain sense, that is true. For I am opposed to Obamacare, but not simply because it tries to put bureaucrats between doctors and patients. I am opposed to Obamacare not simply because it's built on fake math and false promises, and not simply because it's an attack on religious liberty, trying to force religious people and people of conscience to subsidize abortion for the first time in American history. I am not just against Obamacare because its IT systems haven't been working the last 9 days and are unlikely to work and likely to leak the confidential financial and health data of our fellow citizens. But I am also opposed to Obamacare because we in Nebraska are opposed to the worldview that underlies Obamacare. Obamacare creates a dependency culture that says when we have a major problem in America, Washington and government is the main source of solutions to that problem. We know that that isn't true. We know that in Nebraska, we did build that. Our homesteading ancestors came to this land and built farms in communities like Grand Island and around Grand Island because they did want to build a better future for their kids and grandkids. In America, we build together with our extended family and with business partners. We build schools, communities, churches, neighborhood associations, small businesses, and we can build the future. And we want kids who come from impoverished and tough backgrounds to also aspire to build the future. And we know that the American dream, the American idea, the American identity is founded first and foremost on a work ethic. I've had the privilege, even here today at this Media Vale, of meeting somebody that knew my grandpa, who was for 33 years, though not a college graduate himself, for 33 years was a vice president of the college that I'm now privileged to serve as president of. When I was a little kid, I grew up being bussed out into the fields to walk beans and to tassel corn, and I had a grandma who would tell me about when Grandpa was sent away to World War II and she had a new baby son, she figured out how to rig up a basket on the side of her tractor so that she could nurse and raise her son, and at the same time, she could get the crop into and out of the field on time. There is much that Nebraska has to teach Washington. More than Washington, in fact, has to teach Nebraska. And the American work ethic, which is engraved so deeply on the Nebraska soul, is the heart of what we believe we want to transmit to our kids and grandkids. President Reagan said that freedom is always one generation away from extinction. We don't pass freedom on to our kids by the bloodstream. We pass it on to them by actually recovering and reteaching what is great about America. And this is a campaign not about a job. Our founders had no vision of career politicians. This campaign is a campaign in support of a cause, and that cause is about American recovery and American renewal. And we look forward to getting to know the many Nebraskans that we don't yet know. We've been gratified by great support in the first 9 weeks as we explored this campaign and as we went on a listening tour. And we look forward to getting to know a lot more Nebraskans in Grand Island and Kearney, where we're headed next, and North Platte and Scotts Bluff and Alliance, where we're headed tonight. It is a great privilege to call this state home, and we're honored to be able to be embarking on this campaign, and we thank you, members of the media, for turning out. We'd be glad to take some questions.
Are you supporting what they're doing in the House of Representatives now by saying, hey, listen, it was passed by the Senate, it was approved by the Supreme Court, the American people elected Obama in 2012, it's law, but you're going to shut down the government because of it?
It's a great.
You think that's a good thing?
It's a great question. Obamacare is not ultimately implementable, and what we see happening in Washington right now is not enough serious people having a serious conversation about the long term. The issues about who said what when, about legislative tactics and strategy, and how we got to this shutdown is far less important than the more overarching point, which is for 5 years the Congress hasn't passed a budget. Right now, we have a Congress that is borrowing a huge percentage of what we spend every year, and we have no leadership to get us to a long-term plan of getting this back into balance. I think that the shutdown is an example of the dysfunction of Washington of both parties. Too often, the Democrats are the party of bad ideas, and the Republicans are the party of no ideas. Our American people and our Nebraska constituents want something much better than that. Obamacare's math was ultimately built on a Ponzi scheme. It took 4 years of tax increases to get to the first benefits that are supposed to start flowing next January, and the exchanges are showing they can't even get people signed up. CNBC reported the day before yesterday that in some states, 99 out of 100 applicants on the Obamacare exchanges get error messages rather than being able to sign up. I think we need to defund this law, and we need to back up and start over with something that's actually workable. Thank you for coming out. We look forward to getting to know the voters of Grand Island a lot better over the course of the next 7.5, 8 months. Thanks for taking time with us.